success of films like Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind had caused a boom in science fiction films, and now there were new, more technologically based creatures ready to leap from the screen. Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, offered a creature that was part animal, part machine, and 100% deadly. Designed by H.R. Giger, the film's biomechanical beast helped redefine the horror genre and created a whole new generation of movie monsters. Predator offered a twist on the alien theme by giving its creature sophisticated weapons and deadly defenses. Equally deadly was The Fly, a high-tech remake of the 50s sci-fi classic starring Jeff Goldblum.
Help me. Help me be human.
But if modern-day monsters could come from outer space or out of a test tube, they could also come from right next door. Like Psycho before it, Halloween offered more screams per minute than most any other monster movie. Directed by John Carpenter and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, it ushered in the age of the so-called slasher film. Throughout the 1980s, films like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street picked up where Halloween left off. Modern-day monsters now had names like Jason and Freddy, and the success of these films gave rise to a new, more violent subgenre. Explicit horror magazines chased benign offerings like Famous Monsters of Filmland off the newsstands, and classic monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula retreated into the shadows once more. But not for long.
Help me.
Produced and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula offered a stylish return to the atmospheric frights of the silent era.
Take care how you cut yourself.
It is more dangerous than you think.
A foul bone means vanity. Perhaps you should grow a beard.
But even though it stayed fairly faithful to the original novel, Bram Stoker's Dracula nonetheless featured spectacular special effects, startling makeups, and offered a complex psychological interpretation of the cape-clad vampire. With its all-star cast and rich production values, Bram Stoker's Dracula became a hit with both critics and audiences. And during the next decade, Hollywood rushed to remake nearly all the classic creature films. Directed by Kenneth Branagh, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein attempted to prove that the box office lightning of Dracula could strike twice. And the monster, as played by Robert De Niro, was the most faithful of all previous screen interpretations. Wolf, starring Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, offered a contemporary treatment of the werewolf legend. And Mary Riley, starring Julia Roberts, provided a female perspective on Jekyll and Hyde. Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy had returned from their graves to frighten the wits out of a new generation. They proved that even in the age of technological wonders and special effects, you just can't keep a good monster buried for long. But what is it about these misunderstood creatures that has us begging for more? Dracula preys upon our anxieties about sex, disease, and death. Frankenstein provokes unanswerable questions about the origins of life and the existence of God. And the werewolf and Dr. Jekyll cause us to examine human nature's more violent side. The creatures of the night scare us because, in a way, they are us. They represent the secret anxieties and nightmares we have about ourselves. For the past 100 years, each new generation has defined its own monsters and given shocking new faces to its own fear. What of the future? Can we predict what cinematic nightmares lie ahead? I wouldn't worry about it. Instead, I'd suggest you just sit back, relax, and keep telling yourself it's only a movie.
Stay tuned tomorrow for another of AMC's Hollywood Lives and Legends.